Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so happy to see you. This is exciting. Wow, a whole new technology. This webinar is called Tune Out Ego, Tune Intuition, and Receive the Inner Guidance, which is your natural birthright. And I'm sure some of you are here because you're just so sick and tired of the ego and relentless self-criticism, judgment, blame, fear, shame, all of that. I'm sure others of you are here because you just really want to strengthen your attunement to intuition and to really feel that you're in your flow, that your awakening process is blossoming and that you can sustain it, that you can live from there. And probably it's some of both for most of us. In order to claim your intuition, at the very least for this 1 hour, make a commitment to pay attention. Turn off your phone, put down your food, close the door, whatever you need to do to shut out the world. We have 60 minutes, about 45 minutes of presentation and 15 minutes for Q&A. I very much want to hear from you to make sure that I'm addressing your needs and issues. And I have a special invitation to offer those of you who stay until the end, those of you who show your commitment to tuning into your intuition by giving your attention and your time and energy in this hour. So pay attention. Attention is how you claim your intuition. You do have the power to move your attention, but how easily we are distracted. However, here and now, right now, you and me and the group, there's a lot of support in this group energy. And we have a great opportunity for you to experience what you're longing for. The amazing spiritual teachers that I have had the privilege to sit with, including Muji, Rupert Spira, Ken Wapnick, and so many more, have all shown me that the power is in our attention. And even if you feel that you have poor concentration and ADD, we can still harness your attention for 1 moment, which is all it takes for you to experience feeling peaceful, calm, joyful, and then to string those together so that you begin to have an ongoing sense of well-being. And also that you start to feel loved from the inside, so that if you feel lonely and empty, you begin to fill up with this knowing that you are loved. And then you can be loving, which feels so much better than being irritable and impatient. We are activating what is already yours. Intuition is your birthright, and it's here right now. My promise is during our time together, you will experience your timeless nature. I'm actually making a promise to you. I'm going out on a limb. And I feel that I can keep this promise because I am all about experience. I don't want us to just talk about your problems. I don't want to talk about spirituality. If we went to the beach, we would not want to talk about getting into the ocean. We would want to, at the very least, dip our toes in the water. I want you to experience transformation, whether you know it or not, because you may tell me, Amy, nothing happened for me. And I will tell you, if you hung in there for this hour, something definitely happened. And if you're a Course in Miracles student, you know that to be true. The Course assures us that we cannot fail. How can you fail at what you already are? We're just very good at distracting ourselves. So your intuition may seem elusive, but it is actually always here. It's here right now. I recommend that you take off your shoes and wiggle your toes and be here with bare feet, because you're taking an action to say, I am available for energy flowing through my entire body. Okay. For the next hour, we're going to tune out the relentless voice of the ego, change the channel from ego to spirit, and access your intuition. I'm going to give you some exercises that will give you an instant access to intuition. And I'm using the word intuition in the same way that you might think of the Holy Spirit or Christ consciousness or higher intelligence, Buddha nature. It is the bridge into your formless self. It is loving, and intuition never pressures you, which is one way that you'll get very good at identifying when you're hearing from the ego. And you won't fall for it when it's giving you advice, which is not how the intuition works. Intuition helps you know what you already know. And usually the biggest problem people have is just paying attention and trusting what they're sensing. At first, it can be very subtle, and that's why people miss their intuition until you start to practice. So, even if it seems unlikely, the ego has been a deliberate decision that we have all made to tune out and not know who we really are. That's the spiritual riddle that we've been unconscious of. And intuition starts to awaken us and make us realize, whoa, I am really the author of my script, the dreamer of this dream. So as I said, I know that some of you are here because you're fed up with relentless self-criticism, judgment, fighting, bickering with partners, fear thoughts, walking around with shame, having to avoid yourself, maybe even needing to numb out because life can get so painful. I know that people who are interested in intuition and who are drawn to me are usually empaths. So you might have noticed that you are a sensitive person, that you're attuned to other people, that you do pay attention. And these are also telltale signs that your intuition is very accessible to you. So no matter how impossible it may seem, you do have the ability to exercise your power of decision to stick a pin in your ego, to deflate your ego and show it who's boss. It's hard to believe, but the ego is a self-imposed prison, even when we're first born, even for babies, even for children. From the spiritual school of thought that has resonated with me and I know to be true is that we have chosen to fall into a deep, deep, deep sleep and dream. So Hinduism might describe it as reincarnation, that we have many, many, many lives, and that Krishna has fallen asleep to his true nature. God has spun a world sort of the way the spider does, make a web, and then he's become mesmerized with the complexity of the web. But he can also withdraw that web back into himself and realize, I made it all up. When you stop engaging with the ego and with the stories, it becomes obvious that you are tuned in. Type in the chat and tell me whether you feel you need more help with ego blockages or more help tuning into your intuition. Just type ego or intuition, and that will help me calibrate to you. And gaze into this light. Let yourself be illuminated from the inside out. Notice what you feel. Notice that for a moment, there was nothing but light. I see that you're coming in pretty evenly, ego, intuition, Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. I so appreciate hearing from you and your interaction. Okay, I just wanted you to feel into this light and to let yourself realize that if just for a moment, that's all there was for you. There is a spiritual truth that you can only think one thought at a time. And because we think so rapidly, it seems to us that we can think many thoughts at a time, but that's not so. And this is going to be your saving grace. I will come back to that a little later. Maybe you've heard that intuition is our sixth sense, but I actually call it zero. Because when you say sixth sense, it sounds like all the other senses come first and intuition is the last and the least important. But intuition is the zero sense. It is the larger circle that precedes the five senses and the perception of the body, and it envelops all five senses. The breath is actually another way of understanding intuition, and it's etheric. So the invisible breath is your bridge back home as well. And that's why so many meditation practices work with the breath. Now, I love to dance, and I notice that intuitive people naturally are kind of moving like palm trees sway, or kind of like hula dancers, that there's a grace and a swaying energy that comes through us. So let yourself notice that your breath is sensuous and your breath dances. How often do we tune into the breath being pleasurable, immensely pleasurable? Okay, we may do some breathing a little later. We'll see. Now, the ego uses our senses to perceive, perceptors, but spirit uses the senses to receive, receptors. You access your intuition through your body. The body looks like a five-pointed star, right? You're looking at the head, the arms, the legs. And the ego has five senses. But when used by intuition, the body is actually a six-pointed star. You have to include the tailbone because the spine is our nervous system. It is our antenna. And if you count the tailbone, you can see that there's that line of the spine that continues. You don't actually see it, but you can imagine that it drops, it anchors all the way into Mother Earth, and it also rises all the way, let's say, into the heavens. And some of you know that I love the line from A Course in Miracles, "The truth in you remains as radiant as a star, as pure as light, as innocent as love itself." My intuition turned this line into this poetic full body movement, which in yoga we would call a mudra, a movement that comes through us that is opening us to energy and softening us from the inside out, so that the body actually becomes living prayer. And you can receive spontaneous movements, mudras, mantras through your dreams, through synchronicity, through taking a shower, even spacing out for a moment, as you open to receiving. So as I said a little while ago, the ego uses the senses to perceive. There's a spiritual law that giving is receiving. Many spiritual paths tell us about that. Definitely, A Course in Miracles has that as one of its fundamentals. And the way that spiritual seekers, very sincere seekers, follow this law is by giving a lot. Especially empaths tend to be caretakers and givers, and we tend to overgive and wear ourselves out and get depleted and drained. The missing piece is that you need to be open and soft enough, allow yourself to be vulnerable, to receive, to become a receptor for intuition and light so that you feel lit from within. And then you effortlessly transmit light. It just radiates through you. So spirit, intuition will take over your senses. And this is why the breath can feel so sensual as we surrender and welcome our vulnerability. And you don't have to know how. You know, we're going to just feel our way into this. We don't have to know how. Mostly we just need to ask spirit for guidance. And then take at least one breath so that you can receive the guidance. If you did that, this is how you would feel towards the world. Look at that little girl. That's how you would feel. Because so many people are hurting in this world. So many people. And, you know, we have a master manipulator running the country now. And what does he need? He needs love. He doesn't need to be enabled. He doesn't need to be condoned, but he definitely needs you to energetically burn off whatever shame-based stuff is happening inside of him to produce such self-centeredness, self-servingness. If you disagree with my political view, just send love to the other one, whoever you think needs it. Now, I mentioned that your spinal cord, your nervous system, is very much involved in accessing your intuition. The intuition is received through your crown chakra when we're thinking about how does this happen through the body. And the top of your head is actually your spirit antenna. I'm not going to get that much into that today. That's a big subject, but maybe I can just interrupt myself to share a little with you about how I come to be speaking to you about intuition today. Because intuition has been guiding me way before I realized it. And when I think back, I realized that I had numerous intuitive experiences as a young child that told me, you know what you know. And it's funny, but as a grown-up, I went through a whole period of, I don't know what I know. I know that I know, yet I feel aphasic. I feel like somebody who's had a stroke and is groping for a word that they know, but they can't find it. And I believe that every child has intuitive experiences because we're very open for the most part when we're young. Just in terms of our innocent sense of wonder, you know, why is the sky blue? Well, that's intuition, just drawing us back into what is spacious and huge and limitless. And I had some of these experiences looking into the mirror and gazing into my own eyes until Amy disappeared. And I would hear something, I would sort of lift out of the body and hover around myself so that now I was that formlessness that can't be put into words. And I would get a message that everything was okay, even though in my home it was not, but in a way that was comforting. It wasn't denying my experience. And it was accompanied by a loving sense of well-being that was indescribable in words. So some of the things that have happened from me watching my intuition, we're just having a little tech thing. Yeah, it's all good. Some things that have happened are that I was told to travel to Egypt and I really didn't know why, but I just did it. And of course, I've been given homeless cats that have been the loves of my life. I've been shown what to eat and what not to eat, only for, the medical profession years later to agree with me. I've been given the gift of holding a space and having a great empathy for people. And I have a reputation for making people cry in a good way, you know, that they are finally releasing tears that have been pent up for so long. And it's been probably the greatest honor and pleasure of my life to be there and let people just pour it out, and to acknowledge, just to acknowledge what is. Because as we go through that process, we come clean, we get emptied. And this emptiness is a huge relief. It's not a void, it's not lonely. And, you know, more recently, I've gone on to write the Ask Amy column in Miracles Magazine, and I co-host the online radio show Pure Presence, Herein Lies the Peace of God, with Bill Free, my dear friend Bill Free. And I was guided to put together a book of blessings called Sweet Dreams of Awakening, 365 Goodnight Blessings. So these are just some of the ways that following my intuition took over my life, which was a welcome thing. I didn't fight it. Some people feel ownership of their lives. They want their lives. And I understand that, because I definitely wanted to fulfill my potential as a person. And I needed to do that before I really fully opened to intuition. But looking back, I see that it was always guiding me, and I was never rebellious. So you see, there's an upside to being codependent, because I had this very cooperative nature. Okay. Now, the key to collecting your mail, which is accessing your intuition, is opening your mind so that there's energetic flow through your body. And sensory input is what keeps us distracted. But as I said, the senses can also be used by intuition in all sorts of wonderful ways. So when the intuition message arrives in your heart, which is your spiritual mailbox, it is then disseminated through your 5 senses. Isn't that interesting? Now, no spiritual teacher has ever taught me that. And people teach intuition in many different ways. I'm teaching intuition straight from intuition, from it to you. You know, I'm not invested in what I'm saying or how it differs from what anybody else says. But take a look at this heart and get a sense of your energetic heart. I was initiated into a Sufi order many years ago, and the Sufis are all about the heart and feeling everything. And I learned a beautiful practice, heart rhythm meditation, which I'm a trained instructor. And they describe the heart as having height and depth and width, and then there's the deep core, the internal aspect of the heart. So your energetic heart is literally moving through your arms and out your fingertips, and the depth of your heart is at your solar plexus, and the height of your heart is moving into your throat. Also, your heart is moving not only front, you know, where we feel it beating, but it is filling your back. And it is said that your ancestors and your spiritual guides communicate with you through the back of the heart. And maybe that's why there's that expression, you know, about having the wind at your back. And I've often felt when I was walking, like I did have something moving me from behind, that my feet were almost floating. Just a sense of levitating. So the ego made the body's 5 senses to distract you. I mean, that's why we have perception, is so that we forget that we are an abstract mind. But spirit uses our senses to clear our channel. As we release limiting beliefs from the body, from the senses, from our thoughts, thoughts are also forms. The channel clears and intuition begins to speak to you in a language you will understand. So if you're a visual person, maybe you'll have visions. If you're an artistic person, maybe it will come through your art. Maybe, you know, you'll have signs and synchronicities, amazing license plates and songs coming on the radio. And I know that my partners, they may not realize it, but over the years, they have always started to sing under their breath exactly what they were feeling. So if they were telling me one thing like, honey, what's the matter? I can tell you're a little something. No, 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 everything's fine. It's all fine, all good. But then they'd start to sing a song and I would know exactly what was going on. So intuition is always communicating with you and it is loving you. As the Sufis say, we are the beloved. We are love. We are the lover. We are the beloved. It's just a dance between those three. That's another way of saying, you know, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. You notice how things come in threes. And that's another way that you may be communicated with is through numbers. Okay, so let's look at the senses now. How might we experience the senses if spirit is using them, if we are aligned with our intuition? Well, ego uses everything externally. Ego wants us to be all wrapped up and mesmerized by the outside world. So you might say that ego is using our ears to hear. And that means that we're alert and we're, you know, kind of pushing to hear. But intuition is using our hearing, our ears, to listen. And there's a sound. There's a deep internal sound in you. Now, for a moment, I'd like you to massage your ears. Take hold of your ears and feel them tenderly. Did anybody ever tell you that your ears are shaped like a fetus? And if you touch every part of your ear, it's like reflexology of the feet, where when you massage the feet, it stimulates every organ in your body. So in a sense, if you massage your ears in this way, you can feel reborn. Now I want you to feel the vibration. So all you need to do is just put your lips together. We're just going to go, do it out loud. And you're going to feel your lips are going to tingle a little or tickle a little. And then you may feel it through your whole face. And now let's just add the letter H. So it's going to sound like hum, but you're going to do it with your lips together. Hum. We're kind of leading to an Om. This is a symbol of Om, which is the primordial sound from which the manifest world sprang. I'd love to do a whole class on Om. You've probably noticed that sometimes Om is spelled O-M and other times A-U-M. So maybe we'll do that another time. But let's just try it together once. Let's just do an Om without knowing how, for those of you who have never Om'd before. But let's do it all together with a group intention. When I was 25 years old and I first discovered yoga, my teacher, Dharma Mitra, taught us how to Om, A-U-M. Now feel that. That's an experience. See this little infant? When we were this young, did we know what was us and what was the hat, what was the teddy bear, what was the blanket? Do we know what is our hand? What is our nose? This is touching. Ego has everything externalized. We're touching something out there. I want you to be kissed from within. That's what Muji says. I want you to feel things internally. The baby doesn't know where it begins and ends, but this infant is in a state of I am. Before it ever knows its own name, it does know that it exists just through pure experiencing. Rupert Spira explains that the manifest world does not exist. There is no matter. Science cannot prove it. But what is real in a way is our experience of the world. We are having an experience in the mind, and then we are fooling ourselves into thinking that things are tangible. But while the tangible world seems that real to us, even though it's just virtual reality, we have to be kind to ourselves and let intuition work with us where we're at. So we're not going to be bliss ninnies, as Ken Wapnick used to say, and just deny that the world is real when obviously, we feel very identified with the body. In this moment, though, looking at this baby, can you get a hit for yourself of just, I am. I am. Just forget your own name, just for a minute. Now we move to eyesight. So of course, ego is using the eyes to look outwardly. And, many of us are really kind of probing vigilantly because we're anxious. So this looking is really keeping us apart from intuition. Intuition is insight. Insight. So I encourage you, if you can get somebody to do this with you, gaze into each other's eyes. It's different than staring at each other. Gaze into each other's eyes, and you may find that the whole facial pattern just, gets pixelated and disappears. I've done this work with Will Johnson, who is a wonderful embodiment teacher, great Buddhist teacher and Rumi teacher, and the work is amazing. So the question that I'm giving you right now is, can you tolerate being seen through the eyes of love? Can you tolerate it? Because most of us are very uncomfortable and we start to squirm. We're self-conscious. That's our self-criticism right there. The face that you're looking at is Ramana Maharshi, a great mystic sage. And I recommend that you get his picture. All you have to do is Google it, and then you'll be able to gaze into his eyes. Or, if you dare, go to the mirror, gaze into your own eyes. If you have a pet, gaze into the eyes of your pet. And a trick to this is knowing that you're only looking into one eye. You may get double vision if you try to look into two eyes at once. So that's okay. You're allowed to just choose the left or the right and look into that eye. You can also work with color, for instance. You might start to dress in a color to kind of have vision from the inside out, and you'll find out which chakra you need to work on. The chakras, the 7 main chakras that are often spoken about, and part of my background is having been a yoga teacher, is color, Roy G. Biv. So the root chakra is red, and the pelvic chakra is orange. The solar plexus is yellow. You get a big hint there. The heart chakra is green. Sometimes it's said to be pink. The throat chakra is blue. The third eye between your eyebrows is indigo. And the crown chakra at the top of your head is violet, or white, kind of white violet light. So I chose this picture with a violet dress, and just imagine your body becoming the color. And then let the body drop away. Do that now. It doesn't take any time. You don't really have to try. We're playing. We're playing like kids. We're just playing. Okay, you had an experience? Done. Eating. Right? External, we're just like, give me the food. But internal, we're salivating. And that is God's nectar. That saliva in your mouth is life energy. It really indicates your health. So just look at this lemon and imagine biting into it. Do you feel that? Do you feel your mouth watering? In the same way, you can water. Your intuition is the memory of your juicy natural self. And right now, you did shift your attention from ego thinking to sensing. This is all about sensing rather than perceiving, which is externally based. Ah, the smell of a rose. It's like an orgasm in your nose. You can smell it. I'm sure you can smell it. It's present. Now, if you're having a hard time, if experience isn't coming, don't be discouraged. You know, I know that feeling, and I've been there many times. And one example is when people used to have us in yoga classes or energy classes, rub our hands together very vigorously, and then move them apart a little bit and see if you felt energy within the palms. And for many years, I didn't feel that. Nothing. Everybody else is like, do you feel the energy? And lots of people, yeah. And I was just nothing. So I think one of the ways I can be an inspiration to people is that my spiritual path and my opening has been very inch by inch. I haven't really had many dramatic experiences. So I really feel that I can say to you, if this could happen for me, if I could reconnect with my intuition, then you absolutely can too. And here's a picture of intuition. I'm giving you a whirling dervish from the Sufi tradition. I just love this drawing of this feeling I'm trying to describe to you of being moved, of flowing. That your breath is the bridge to the invisible realms, that your breath can feel like a sensuous dance inside you right now. Okay, I'm checking the clock and I see things are taking a little longer than I hoped. So I just wanted to tell you a quick story of when cops discover children who have been locked in a closet, some kids reach their arms out and other kids recoil. And if you're the kid inside who reaches your arms out, that is a good sign. That's your willingness. But if you are this kid, there is hope for you. You just need to work more with breath and softening from the inside out and finding a safe witness, you know, who you can begin to trust and feel safe with. It's just about calming the nervous system and restoring a sense of safety. So I'd like to give you 3 deceptively simple exercises. We've been doing exercises all along. But just for now, to tune out the ego, close your eyes. And notice that behind your eyelids, it is not pitch black. There's a graininess. So this is a reality check that light, spiritual light, intuitive light is always present within you. No matter how dark your ego wants you to feel, light is ever present, even closed eyes. Can't get rid of it. I want you to take this to heart. Don't just quickly dismiss it, because you close your eyes all day long. We blink all day long. And now you can use that as a reminder that you're filled with light no matter what you do. The next one is changing the channel. So once we actually take an action to tune out the ego by closing our eyes and shutting out sensory perception, now we want to actively change the channel, just like on a radio. So open your eyes and look out into the distance as if you're looking towards the horizon, and smile. Just make yourself smile if you don't feel like it. But you can hear me smiling, right? You can tell when a person is genuinely smiling or not. Now, this does not have to be a genuine smile because it'll activate your brain even if you just push your the sides of your mouth up. And then the third exercise is focusing on your inner vision, knowing what you know. One way to do this is to bypass ego thinking by switching languages. And for a long time, I've been recommending a prescription for inner peace. I have a YouTube video on that. It's only about 8 minutes. And the way to switch out of the ego straight into intuition, for instance, this is one of countless ways, is to say the Sanskrit phrase, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. It means that you bow to the divinity within you. Om Namah Shivaya honors your intuition, your inner wisdom, your internal teacher who is always here with you, no matter how alone you may feel. So we just tuned out the ego by noticing the ever-present light behind our eyelids. Then we looked out at the horizon and smiled, a conscious choice to have far-reaching vision and activate joy. And then we tuned into the intuition, which is always here, by honoring the divinity within us. Plus, we paid attention to the sensuous breath, the dance of intuition, which awakens us to our beautiful, fearless, loving natural self. These are all deceptively simple exercises. They're fleeting. The ego is a master at making you forget that they happened. Yet if you practice them, if you do them wholeheartedly, if you could direct your full attention to an exercise for just one pure moment, a holy instant, there's your intuition. Let me know, type into the chat box and tell me, are you experiencing shifts? Can I just look on yours? Oh, you guys can hear me whispering.
This was the last chat before you asked that.
Oh, very nice.
So it's a yes, very much so.
Oh, thank you guys. I so appreciate your interaction and just, you know, feeling connected with you by seeing that you're here. Okay, hi, Lindsay.
Your participant list. Your participant list.
Oh, great. I can see the participants. This is great. Okay. Hi, Carolyn, and another Carolyn. Omera, this is wonderful. Isadora, Linda, Lindsay, Lynn, Martine, I'm glad that you could make it. Peace General, I don't know your first name, but Peace General, hello. Hey, Rick, Scott, Sydney, Tina, Cheryl, and then there's a phone number person, and CC, and KM, okay. I just want you all to feel like Manilu, Bernard. I just want you to know that I see you and that I want to connect with each and every one of you. I'm a very small crowd kind of person. I have to admit, I get irritated when teachers say, you know, I've taught thousands and thousands and thousands. I'm like, okay, but really, how about just a beautiful few? So that's my thing. Okay, I want you to have time to ask questions. And, you know, I've told you that intuition has many definitions. In this class, we've been using it as the direct experience of your God nature. And what's so important about this is that from God nature, all questions are answered, all problems are solved, not in the way you expect, but they are. I think of intuition as the memory of God within the person. Intuition is your inner alarm clock. Its message is wake up. And we humans keep hitting the snooze button. You know, intuition gently says, wake up. And we say 5 more minutes. And this goes on for countless lifetimes until finally our spiritual eyelids start to flicker and light streams in because we just cannot remain fully asleep any longer. And all of you are there at the very least. In fact, intuition can blast you through several incarnations in one lifetime. And speaking for myself, I have had many. And one thing I really want you to know is that you may feel that you've worked very hard on yourself and that still life is difficult for you in ways where it seems to come together for other people who are not as conscious as you are. And I want you to know that this could be because you are burning off karma big time for yourself in this lifetime. You may be going through many incarnations in one lifetime. And so you don't see worldly progress because that's not what this lifetime is about for you. Maybe you're helping your entire lineage heal. Maybe you're helping the whole world heal. You know, Jesus told Helen Schuckman, the scribe of A Course in Miracles, that she didn't walk up the mountain and down the other side, that she pushed through the mountain when she asked him why life was so hard for her. Here she was this amazing channel that could just receive this pure teaching, pointing, and yet her life was painful, a painful, anxious life. So you are not a failure if you are not pleased with your circumstances or your personality. The more important thing is to switch into your intuition and start to love and appreciate yourself from the inside out and surrender to the idea that there's a bigger picture than we can see. And the ego would like to compare and despair, but that is not your path. Intuition is like a magnet, and it pulls you from being a little human to limitless being. And as your experience stabilizes and becomes your new normal, your faith and trust have reached a tipping point of strength and certainty. You know what? Type magnet in the chat if you would like to strengthen your connection with intuition, because that is an experience, that is an action that ups the ante for you. And then you'll feel that you are being carried rather than carrying the world on your shoulders. Now, I promised you an invitation, a special invitation at the end of this webinar, and I really want you to walk away with practices that you can use, and I know that I have delivered them to you, so I hope that you hold on to them. But I also want to invite you to participate in an e-course that I am putting together right now. And it would be a pilot, which means that it's a work in progress. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to see something in my notes. And so I can only take a limited amount of people who I will work very closely with to find out in particular, what are your needs? What is it that you'd like to accomplish, if we could use that word? And I will be giving this course eventually for $297. But for the pilot students who want to join and continue this work with me, it will only be $97. And guys, you know, even as I say it to you, I feel like I should really charge more because I don't really have a taste for big prices, and usually I kick myself later because it's always kind of tough for me to earn a living if I'm going to be transparent. So I'm still working on that. But yeah, that's what the price is for now, $97. And let your intuition guide you. I don't want to pressure you, but I do want to say that it's so affordable. And if this work felt of value to you and you want to continue with it, then we're going to put a link in the chat, and I'll put it on the screen too. And you can join me, and we will have a beautiful, intimate exchange where I get to know you better and pick your brain, not the ego brain though. Or the ego brain too, so that we can turn the game on the ego. And I'm thinking that the next 3 classes would be for all the Wednesdays in April, the 12th, the 19th, the 26th. You would have lifetime access to the class. That means as it grows and I add material, you would continue to get all of that for the same $97. And also, if you just felt like the class wasn't right for you, You can get your money back if you let me know within 2 weeks. So you would have plenty of time to test drive it. And the class is for you if you are willing to accept love, if you are willing to feel childlike wonder, if you are willing to own your power by not being the boss, by releasing control, and if you are willing to be guided by spirit, which is exactly what we're talking about when we say tune out ego, tune intuition. So here's the link. I'm just so pleased that you joined me, and until the next time, namaste. Mwah.